Why I Love You by Reading in Solitude. As I walked down the trail to our home, keeping Ping Hai by my side, we trudged through the cold of winter. It was especially cold for her, as her smaller stature, brought on by many of the hardships that she had faced back in her homeland, left her more exposed than even myself, and so she pulled herself closer to my body and deeper into her own coat. We came from similar backgrounds. We both grew up in poverty, and neither of us had it very easy. We both wanted to settle down and have a more laid-back life. And most of all, we both were willing to take whatever came to us, so long as we had each other. We lived modestly, set within a forest and on a fair property with a few others. When we arrived at the place that we called our home, I opened the door for her and followed her into the kitchen. I checked the stove and found the wood to thankfully still be smoldering. Adding some fresh tinder and opening the flue, I stoked the flames for us once more to warm us up. I removed my coat and set it with Ping Hai's on the coat rack, then settled in with her on our soft down seat. Pulling her in close, I kissed the top of her head and relished in the comfort of our home. I could feel her arm cross my chest as she laid her head upon me, her soft cheek pressed into my ribs. Lifting one leg and then the other, I removed each of my boots and the damp wool socks set within them, and then did the same for her, placing the two pairs away from us, closer to the fire, without having to get up. "I love this weather," I murmured as I closed my eyes. Feeling Ping Hai raise her head from me, I looked down to see her staring up at me. "Really?" she asked. "Sure," I nodded. "But it's so cold," she shivered. "That it is. But the coldness of the outside makes the warmth of your hugs all the merrier," I responded. Ping Hai smiled as she went back to hugging me and I hugging her. "Well, you know, your heartbeat makes me happy, so that makes our hugs even greater," whispered Ping Hai. "And your soothing voice makes me happy," I replied. "So hearing you speak as we embrace makes it the best." "But your hugs, they make my heart melt," she cooed. "Make me melt into your arms." "And your kisses make my mind stop," I laughed, feeling that I had gotten the last word. Ping Hai looked at me, smiling all the while, and laughed as well, giving me a peck on the cheek. I feigned being frozen before quickly taking hold of her and hugging her tightly against my chest. "I love you, Ping Hai." "I love you too," she responded. We sat blissfully in silence as we warmed up across from the stove and listened to the burning wood crackle. "Thank you, so much," she whispered. "Thank me? For what?" I asked, petting her head. "For giving me all this," she responded. "This house that we have, the warmth of your love, the time for us to play, a chance for me and my sister to really build up a great life for ourselves. Well, thank you for giving me the motivation to do everything that I could to make this a reality. I certainly could not have done this without you and your sister," I replied. "Without your sister's pork buns, however would I have the energy needed to keep up with you out there?" Ping Hai giggled and nodded. "Big sister does make the best buns on earth." However, her face turned down a bit before adding, "But why thank me for giving you motivation? Is this not the life that you wanted when we met?" "Sort of," I answered. "I mean, I wanted a good life. I wanted purpose. I wanted a number of things. But none of them really had any meaning without you. Perhaps life is not made to be spent in isolation, but rather in the light of others. One can be alone and not be isolated, and likewise among many and still be isolated. But you, when I'm with you, I don't feel alone. I don't feel isolated. I feel that you are given to me as a blessing in my life to facilitate deliverance from any such isolation ever again." Ping Hai tipped her head before nodding as she came to understand. "I see. I guess I was much the same back in the homeland. I used to dream, like the others, of living beyond our impoverished lives. But when I imagined prosperity, I thought not of the high and mighty castles of the Royal Navy, nor the vineyards of the Irish Republic, not even of the small fiefdoms of the Republic that was my home. I always just imagined a better world in a home much like my own, and with a person much like you by my side. So we found each other, I replied happily. Pinghai smiled and held my hand. So we have. Would this home be a home if not for you? What good would this plot be if I were the only one to tend the land? I could have all the riches on earth, Pinghai, but I would have none but a small fraction of the wealth of your love, I said, taking her hand. So why me? She asked, cozying into my lap. Why do I love you? Why does the sun shine? Why do the birds sing? You could say to me that the sun shines for it burns, and the birds sing because that is how they talk. But then, one could ask yet again, why does the sun burn? Why do the birds talk? I suppose we could continue asking questions on and on, forever and ever, until finally it would simply come to the point that things are as they were made. So why do I love you? Because you are you, Pinghai. Because you are a good woman. Because you are one who knows what it is to come from humble beginnings. Because you are one who knows what it is to fight for honor. One who knows and has known strife and has always endured it. But I think most importantly of all, Pinghai, you're the one who's captured my heart, I replied. You are the one who makes me feel like no other. So that is how it is, she asked, smiling as she laid into me. I closed my eyes and enjoyed her warmth as we sat by the fire. Would you have it any other way? I asked. She breathed deeply as though beginning to fall asleep. No, I'm happy this way just fine. But maybe a pork bun or two to warm me up would be good right about now. I laughed as we stayed put, neither of us wanting to leave the other's embrace. They say man does not live on pork buns alone, but on the greater things in life. Things like the gifts that it gives us. A gift life has given me, called Pinghai.